Welcome to Tech Talk on the Daily Dose Plus. This is where we feature a lot of young, amazing tech experts. And then,
welcome, guys. I'm the co-host, and there's my boss.
why are you making me sound like a bot? All right, but yes, my name is Alpha Smare, and here we have Fatmata Danso.
Fan of AI.
And today, our guest is Hassan Jallow. Well, how should I call it? Is it CEO or
Chief Executive Architect,
Officer.
Chief Architect, whatever that is.
I'm just Hassan, and I run Assutech and Waychit. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing is Hassan and myself, we've known each other for nearly 15 years.
Whoa.
And
Yeah, from high school.
I'm thinking about asking you a question that
It's more than 15 years, dude. Are you growing that old already?
I think. Okay.
Well, I guess we can just go ahead with the first question of who is Hassan Jallow? People have known Assutech. You've made a name, you've built a brand. When you mention tech in the Gambia, the first thing one of the first companies that comes to people's mind is Assutech. Tell us who is the man behind Assutech, the brain behind Assutech.
Well, I think that Assutech as a company is a combination of brains, not just one brain. That is what really makes the company what it is. And one of the things that we really thrive in, it's a culture of teamwork that just works. It's a well-oiled machine. We don't have to think about it. We don't have to think about working as a team. Like nothing we ship is worked on by one person. It's like just a combination of people. So I happen to run the company, also the founder of the company, and I lead the teams. But I'm very grateful to be working with some of the smartest people that I've ever met. And that is what makes the company what it is today. Yeah.
Let's go personal a bit.
Okay.
Tell us a bit about yourself.
Myself, well, I grew up in the North Bank, in a village called SL. At the time, there was no electricity or internet in it. I guess there was dial-up, but I didn't know about it. I guess some folks, one or two people had dial-up internet then. So back in 2006, so I crossed the river at the ferry to create my first email address. The name of that email address became the name of the company. But, when I was a kid, those kids that just like to fiddle with things, open stuff. I was one of those kids, open stuff to know how they work. Play with a toy. As soon as I'm bored of it, I open it up to see what's inside. When I was a kid, when I was a toddler, my dad bought me a radio. So my dad, he passed away when I was 5. But one of the things that I really remember is a radio that my dad bought for me, because my dad was almost addicted to listening to the BBC News, and I always used to come and fiddle with his radio. So he bought me a small radio. It's a colorful one. I can still remember it. So one day it broke. So for quite a bit, and one of our neighbors opened it up, and there was a circuit board, and there was a battery compartment, and there was a wire from the battery compartment onto the circuit board that was torn. So he fixed it. So then I was in nursery school. That was the first time I understood the concept of polarity. And there are poles, and there's a plus, there's minus, that kind of thing. Since then, if I see any electrical or electronic equipment, I see that there's a matching pattern there. Started opening stuff, building toys and automating toys that I've built by putting a motor and a battery on it and that kind of thing. So that's how I spent my childhood in SL. But then in 2006, like I said, somebody told me about the internet. I crossed to create my first email address. I didn't know what to tell them. They asked me, hey, what is your name? Hassan. What's your surname? Jallow. What do you want to make your email address? I didn't know what to say. So the guy just put something in there. So I didn't wake up one day and say, oh, I'm Asu, or I'm Hassan, Assutech. I would do it again. I wouldn't call it that. That sounds so narcissistic, actually. But yeah, it is what it is. It was the email. And I was so, not that I think there's anything wrong with doing that, but I just think that's not really the story, right? So that's how the name Assutech came about. And yeah, the rest is history. And me and computers have been together since.
Talking of computers, I remember that computer you had in high school. The big one. What was it, sir?
Bro, I'm so proud of that computer. Why are you making fun of that computer, man? That's a Pentium 2, bro. In those days, a Pentium 2 was early. Actually, Pentium 2 was already done at that time. But anyway, Pentium 2 is a big deal, bro. So stop being so mean, man.
Well, I guess I would say the rest is future, not history. When you were crossing to go and get your first email, what concept did you had of emails and what it could have done there?
Was it a Yahoo?
It is a Yahoo. And you know what's sad, bro? I don't have access to that email anymore, man.
Oh.
I tried. Maybe it might have been deleted or something. But maybe I'll see if I can recreate it. But what was I thinking? You know, when I was a kid, right, I didn't think visionary. You know, it was more like I was driven by passion and I just want to get stuff done. You know, or I'm just curious. It was just my curiosity. So I started thinking really long term, you know, later on in life. So it's not like I was there thinking I was going to do something. To me, man, I just want to do email. I want to be able to email my family that's abroad. And they used to be fascinated by that I would just send them emails and talk about things and talk about, you know, I remember there was a Peace Corps volunteer that I used to talk to. So I had a debate coming up. So I told her that I'm having a debate on that. And then she gave me some pointers and, you know, we won that debate. So that was pretty cool. So for me, it was just like, you know, cross the river. And I remember my mom, she was a primary school teacher. She used to have to go to Banjul to receive her salary. So she would sign a check and send me over to try to receive the salary. And she would give me $20 and I'll go to the internet cafe and I would spend an hour out there. Just, it was exciting to in those days when you push a computer, you know, it makes some noise like, you know, that kind of thing. Man, like adrenaline.
like a tractor that's coming out.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm from the village, bro. There's no computers out there.
But you know what annoys me with that is that people actually use Windows and Mac and compare and use that as a meme. There are some high-end Windows, you know.
Right. Yeah. That debate. Let's not back that tree. You know, we'll get to that.
Just because you use a Mac doesn't mean they're high-end Windows. And I'm telling you, like, they're really good.
I mean, now that we're into that conversation, I mean, like, I did not deliberately just start using a Mac, right? So I remember I was a big time Windows, not Windows really, but PCs. I used to run Linux later on. So, you know, I really enjoyed Linux, the customization, the power that you have using the computer. As long as you can prove that you're sudo, you can do whatever you want to do. You can customize whatever you want. You can install different distributions. You can install different kinds of software. So my main development computer was Linux, but we had to build an iOS app. So I didn't like Mac so much. I didn't like Mac at all that I bought an iMac just so I can do my iOS dev on the iMac because I didn't want to buy a MacBook. Bro, I got stuck in that iMac. And today, there's no Windows computer in the company.
I know how that.
Yeah, so I mean, it works. I mean, like, but anyway, for everybody, whatever works, man.
That's right.
I think at this point, it's less about device or hardware versus hardware. It's more about ecosystem versus ecosystem, right? So the problem is I'm stuck with the Mac ecosystem, not just because of a MacBook, but the seamlessness and the interoperability and the level of consistency of the software across all the different devices that you use. That is really why I find a lot of comfort in Mac. And also the way they enforce certain security best practices to a certain extent, right? And the fact that, you know, the variety is not so wide, right? If you were building, let's say, an Android app, you have probably thousands of phones that you can run an Android phone on, right? Overall, you know, if it works for a few, it should be fine. But iOS, you know, the number of devices that you have to optimize for is so small that, you know. Anyway, talking too much. So, okay.
So now let's talk about in local market, okay? And coming to some of the biggest impacts that you've had in Gambia and some of the most amazing techs that you've built. What's the first application that you built and you deployed in Gambia?
That's a good question. I think that is the certificate of origin system that we built for GCCI.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I remember when I was in uni, you know, a friend of mine was doing some work for GCCI and told me they wanted some software. And, you know, it's a long story, but, you know, I built that software. And I remember I was doing this course called Junior Project where you had to build something. So I told the instructor, hey, man, I'm building this real life software for this institution. Can I use it as my junior project? And he's like, yeah, why not? I mean, we're teaching you to build real world stuff if you're building it now. So the software is still in use today. So that was my first project. But overall, you know, what we have been doing is building customized software for organizations around the world. So public-facing apps, we haven't built so much of those, although we have built some. But yeah.
I know another beautiful app that a lot of us love, especially this year, and it has to do with the election. And I saw at the bottom, crafted by Assutech,
Yeah.
marble.
Yeah. the
How was your
marble.
experience building that?
Yeah, it was a good project to work on. I mean, we built that project for Gambia Participates. So we were just a technology provider. We built the product, but we built it for one of our clients, Gambia Participates. And it was an election information app to be able to get real-time election results. I mean, like, it was a small project within the company, but then as far as the users were concerned, it kind of blew up a little bit. So I think for a few days, it trended. It was having more downloads than WhatsApp and TikTok. Probably the first app in the history of the Gambia to have something like that, but it was more of a question of timing and what it needed. So yeah, that's that. But that's out of dozens of software that we have built over the years.
Especially the last that election, the one that had the last Jamie election. Was it launched by then, or it wasn't? It was after then.
I think it was
I don't know,
after
man.
that.
I don't
It was
remember.
after that.
I think
It was
because
after the
this-
2016 election.
It was after the 2016
Yeah,
election. Okay. Yeah, but I think the first borough election it was just. But anyway,
Take us through the journey of how Assutech started until you get to that point of getting your first project. Was it that first GCCI project that led to Assutech, or the concept was there before you kickstarted?
That's a good question. You asked very good questions, mashallah.
does that mean I don't ask good questions?
You're all over the place. He thinks we're still, we have these kinds of conversations a lot. So he thinks we're still. But anyway, but that's good. That's good. Don't be too sensitive. Come on, I'm just kidding. You asked excellent questions.
You're good.
But she asked better questions.
That's fine. That's fine. That's why I see.
No hard feelings.
No hard feelings. But
Okay, cool.
all right.
I mean, in high school, I always known that I wanted to start a company, right? In high school. And I, in fact, had the name. I remember it was funny that there was this software in high school that I used, Microsoft Publisher. I don't think it's still being used. And there was a template for business cards. And I remember I created some business cards and I put the name of Assutech in there. But yeah, from high school, I always knew that I wanted to start a company. But I thought that I just couldn't start it. I have to maybe go to university, then get a master's and work somewhere for a couple of years. That's what I thought. So I just started a company accidentally. So what happened was, so even, when we started a project with GCCI, we were not set up as a company yet. So it's through that process that I realized, hey man, if I can build this, that, maybe we should, maybe there are many other institutions that would want this.
When was that?
2016?
2016, yes. 2017. 2017. 2016, 2017. 2017. Yeah, 2017. So that's when we registered, but then a couple of years later is when we have our first official year. So again, the way I've always operated is like when I see an opportunity, I execute. I do not hesitate, but I don't necessarily I was not sitting there thinking, oh, I'm going to start a company, that kind of thing. But when I realized that I had to start a company, I just went full throttle. So that was that. But yeah, the rest is history.
That's pretty unconventional because, again, it's not normal for an average Gambian that's going to school having the mindset of starting a company. Whatever field that you're in, you're always thinking of, working at the biggest company that is existing at the time. How did you get to that level of developing a mindset of creating something of your own? Because it's pretty much unconventional. And looking at your tech journey from high school, how did this whole tech thing started? Because tech is not something that is very, very, very common in our educational system. How did you get into that?
Yeah, so I've always been, like I said, I guess I could consider the electronic stuff that I was doing back related to tech, because I've always liked technology, right? I just didn't have the access. But I've always liked learning from people. Like if I know that I can learn something from you, like it doesn't matter how old you are, I would do whatever I can to learn. I actually did learn a lot from Alpha when I was in high school. Yes, a lot of stuff. When I thought, So I really did learn a lot from Alpha. So how did I think of starting a company? I mean, it just comes down to what I want to work on stuff like this. And I am looking to find companies that work on stuff like this, but there are companies that work on it, but maybe not particularly aligned with what I want to do. So it was more of, let me create the environment for me to work on what I want to work on, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for me to create what I want to work on. So it's not like I was sitting there thinking, but then, you start reading about stories and what I really, really like. I don't trust so much motivational speakers, but I mean, it's useful, right? But what I do find truly inspirational is when I hear startup founders talk about their journey, and the things that they did. So I find so much value in that, and I learned a lot from that. So that's what we did, and then we started that company, built those software, and yeah.
Incredible.
Now, you've been in the business for a very long time now, and you've successfully built a brand. You've always had an amazing team. What are some of your business challenges? Like, what have you gone through? And if somebody is listening, what are the 1 or 2 things you would advise them in their career path? Particularly, let's say, if they are now trying to get into tech, how was tech a few years ago, and then how is tech now?
I mean, in terms of challenges, I always say this. It's a tough question because once the challenges come, that's, as a software engineer, it's in your programming to solve problems. So the challenges feel very normal. So, right? So
challenges equal opportunities.
Yeah. So, and I guess what was one of the first challenges? One of them was, how do our parents, what are these kids up to, man? Like, what do you mean you're going to start a company? Why don't you go get a job, bro? Why don't you go...
I get
What
that.
are you talking about? What do you mean you're going to go start a company? Our parents always want to protect us. They want, and they say this from a good place, they want us to take the least risky route, right? That protects us because they are in for... So for me, I didn't have that problem, not so much. I remember, so let me give you a bit of a background, right? My mom, she grew up in a more remote village than SL, in a village called Nyomi Leming. That's where my mom was born. She was the first girl in the whole school, the whole village, to go to high school. Yes, which is kind of sad, because when the girls reach the 6th grade, a lot of them are married off, right? She was the first girl to go to high school and only the 2nd girl in the whole district. And when her exam results came back, the principal called the village and the surrounding villages to tell them a girl is going to high school. Okay, this kind of makes me emotional. Yeah, a girl is going to high school, so let your children go to school, that kind of thing. And it's different. I mean, like, yeah, even today, I mean, like, if a dude wakes up in the morning, what do? Like, just do a couple of things and get out of there. But if a lady wakes up in the morning, there's so many things that you have to do. And at the end of the day, you still need to put some time to study and do whatever you need to do. And then think about doing that all over again. I mean, that was the case. So naturally, it is less competitive then for the girls to be able to, so this is my mom. So you can understand, I'm telling you this context to understand how much you would understand how much she values education, right? Okay. Well, she went to high school, came back, and so on and so forth. And it was really a success story in the village. And, until today, one common occurrence is people send their kids to my mom for school and that kind of thing. That same person who values education that much, right? I probably would have been her first child to graduate from university, right? And I spent 3.5 years and I gave her a call on the phone. And I said, Mom, I want to do this, and I want to take a break from university and focus on the startup. And I explained why that is a good thing to do. 10 minutes later, 10 minutes conversation, like, okay, Hassan, I want you to get a degree, but if this is what you want to do, then may God help you, you know what I mean? So, but then, you have a team that you work with and these challenges come all the time. So that's one challenge. The rest of the challenges are very normal. Those are random startup platitudes, right?
Okay.
The challenges of finance, the challenges of problem solving, limited resources, those kinds of things. That's pretty common. I don't have to come and repeat those things. If you run a company, it's crazy hard, right?
Okay.
Yeah, it's either going to be really hard in the beginning, or it's gonna be really hard sometime in the future, or it's gonna be a roller coaster, which is always the case, right? Your sets of problems are different. I remember there was a time in the startup I used to dream of the stage that we're in today.
Oh.
But the stage we're in today has its own set of challenges. So it never ends. And that is why you need to really have a strong why you do what you do. It can't just be money. I mean, money is important. Don't get me wrong. Like, if we wouldn't be making money from this, trust me, we wouldn't be doing it. But money is not enough motivation. There's got to be more.
The vision.
Yeah, there's got to be more. Like, maybe the money as an instrument, but there's got to be more about this. There's got to be the burning fire that comes of something that does not extinguish. You know what I mean? So today, I have so much excitement from, bringing meaningful technological innovations to the masses to increase the value of life. That is why I wake up every morning. Like, I want to build tech that is going to enrich your life and give you a better living, give you more comfort, increase your revenue, make you wealthy, pretty much. That's the kind of tech I want to build.
Let's say I'm into that.
Yeah.
Speaking of challenges, I been in the tech space, I've noticed something. One of the challenges that founders or young entrepreneurs that are coming up face is in terms of tech talent and skills. How did you juggle with that?
Yeah, so what we do, okay, first off, in our industry, we are very fortunate because you can go and learn tools that were written by Google or Facebook or Airbnb or whatever company, top companies in the world. This is the same tools that they use to build the technology that they build today. And they have documentation and standard and best practices in terms of how you write that software well. And the knowledge is freely available. So if you wanted to build a car, maybe that's going to be a little harder, right? But or something else. But if you wanted to build software, there are formalized channels that you can find online that can help you learn these skills. So what we do, we want to write software from the smallest country in mainland Africa that is no less than anything you can find anywhere else on earth, right? That's what we want to do. So we want to, I like this quote by Aristotle, which we have in the entrance of the office. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. Yes. You have to continuously deliver excellence. So that hunger is there. That's what we look for. Because if you're hungry enough for knowledge and hungry enough for success, you have the foundation to learn anything. So if what do you look for? Are you hungry enough for knowledge, or are you hungry enough to succeed? Naturally, this will only, not because you said it. If you're hungry enough, it will translate in your activities over the years, right? What you have been doing. So that's what you look for. And when we find that, you know that you're not supposed to write anything else less than what you're going to find in Silicon Valley. Why not? Why not?
You reminded me of one of a philosophy that Elon Musk have. He said he doesn't hire people based on skills and knowledge. He hires based on character.
Talking of Elon Musk.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Do you remember that's the first time you asked me about Tesla?
Yeah, old age, man. I don't remember stuff as much. Tell me.
So you asked me about Tesla, and then that there is a Tesla in Gambia. I was like, yes. I assume that that was long time ago. And you were like, okay, what does it use? And I was like, yeah, it uses fuel. And you lost it in the office.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, that was long time ago. I had no idea. But yeah, if
yeah, but I can see where I can totally see that me doing that. But yeah, but I remember the incident.
Elon will sue you for that.
Anyway.
So that's like telling you, nigga, you lied. Oh boy, you lied. But anyway,
man, I should have been kinder, man.
Yeah. You're bullied. So if you're watching this and you've had challenges around your business, or when you wanted to transition, and it was just like what we just talked about, like from parents' perspective, how was it? How did you go about it? Let us know. But more questions that we would like to ask you particular is, do you want to just get what she just said before we move?
Yeah, always remember, it's your job to really explain. I don't really think your parent, it's not really a big problem. Maybe I'm making it sound like bigger than it is, but it is your responsibility to unpack your vision and explain it.
100%.
It's very likely that they will understand it. Or sometimes what you can say, give me a chance, give me some targets. Let me check box these. You understand what I mean? So yeah, but fire away.
Yeah. So what I want to ask right now is, which I want to come on Waychit. It's something that I use very often, and also you mentioned about building amazing software that is so good, it's unique beyond Gambia. So tell us a little bit about the Waychit journey, and also some of the work that you've done beyond Gambia.
Right. So Waychit, I think that those two are kind of related. So we've done a lot of work for organizations around the world, in Berlin and in the US. They don't let me talk about them, so I can't give the specific. It's proprietary technology.
Okay.
But over the years, we have really focused on that market. But then, building product for Gambia is not easy. So there are so many misconceptions about technology. So building a technology product is the easy part. Maintaining it is the hard part. By maintaining it, I don't mean keeping it on or keeping the service on. Because we have to understand technology is just a tool. Technology in itself doesn't stand alone. You use technology for something.
Absolutely.
But the technology itself is not the thing. I don't know if that even makes any sense, right? So if you are, let's say, if you want to build an e-commerce platform, forget about the technology. Technology is a means. All you want to do is you want to be able to sell product. So you can't always just replicate something that exists somewhere else and bring it. You have to look at the problems of the market, the needs of the market, and you go backwards to the technology. And this is almost always a continuous exercise. That costs money. So it's not like a house, you build it and you paint it and you start renting it out. That's not how it works, right? And this is a perspective most people don't see. And there's a reason why no tech product, in the past, 10, 15 years had taken off and gone mainstream, right? Apart from the newer ones that we have, right? Because you don't think of it like a house or a car. Like it's a continuous exercise, and that costs a lot. That's why we built Waychit, right? So we build all the tools, the technologies that you need end to end. We give all the merchants and the customers a complete cycle of benefit, which means that everybody's problems are solved, right? And we integrate all the different payment service providers so that you don't have to integrate with them individually. Therefore, with Waychit, you are able to use whatever payment method there is. Waychit is not a financial institution, doesn't hold any money, but you can link, say, your AfriMoney, your QMoney, your Wave, your EcoBank account, and then you can transact with any business, and regardless of whether they have that payment method or not, right?
Is it correct to say how do I put it? Like it controls the traffic of the flow of money from one platform to another.
Exactly. It's like an aggregator.
A payment aggregator.
Exactement. Yes, that is what it is. Yes, it's a payment aggregator. So that's it. But payment is just a step in the transaction. There's so much more that happens before the payment and after the payment.
Okay.
That software can bridge. That's what we build. We call that last mile tech.
Last mile
tech. If I go to the gas station and buy gas, yes, they scan, I've paid, and I got my fuel and I'm gone. There's so many things that need to happen after that. The reconciliation.
Okay.
Who received the payment? How does that count as part of their shift for that day? You understand what I mean? Many things. So many. And before the payment, how does the pump attendant know this is a valid payment? That kind of thing. How can they tie it to them? Those kinds of things. So there are so many things that need to be done, and that's our focus. But the payment itself is a step, and that's why we are partners with the financial service providers and payment service providers and wallets and banks and so on, so that once they link, we can just handle the what happens before the payment, what happens after the payment, and additional value services that we add on the product to help businesses thrive, to be able to increase their sales, to give them more visibility, to be able to be more optimal in their customer acquisition, so on and so forth.
What are some of those value-added services?
Okay, great. So with Waychit, you can link whatever payment method and pay your Gamtel internet.
Okay.
Before that, the only way you could have done it is you go to their location during working hours and pay in cash.
Right.
But now you can wake up at 3 a.m. and it'll automatically connect. Right? That's one. The other thing is you can buy motor vehicle insurance. The joke is the police can break you before they walk into your car. You can pay your motor vehicle insurance and get an instant digital copy. again, before that, the only way you could have done that is you go to the insurance company and they open and pay and they give you, right?
Right.
Hundreds of things. And we also have this POS software that, you as a business, you can be able to use it to conduct your sales. And wherever you are in the world, you can see your sales in real time. You can know who owes you money. You can have all your products. You can monitor your inventory. People can use the same POS to pay. And regardless of how they pay, it all aggregates in one place, that kind of thing. We have a long roadmap, and we have a variety of features in there that's pretty interesting for our users.
That is digitization in action. Would I call it personalized digitization? Because anyone can actually use it for anything transactional. That's actually amazing.
Exactly, because we don't really sell any product. We are just enabling a product that you're already paying for on Waychit. So ultimately, at some point, it'll touch you. You can't transact over a couple of days and not touch, to not kind of brush shoulders with us somewhere,
And that's incredible. You've talked a bit much, or you've talked a bit about your vision for Assutech, and then we are talking about AI in this day and age. We all know technology evolves with time, and now innovation is rapid. Every single day, new things are coming up. I mean, it's just insane. Catching up can be overwhelming. Why does Assutech stand in the age of AI?
Well, so we leverage AI as much as we can. If the experts are saying that AI would have more impact on the world than the internet would. So we are leveraging it from day one. In terms of whatever problem that we need to solve. I think that it came at a time that we are more focused on products as opposed to generally building software. I do think at this point, AI works very well at prototyping a software for you, but it has not reached the stage yet that it can completely do everything that you need end to end. It will get there without a doubt. So at the end of the day, we will be leveraging that and to be able to 10x our capabilities, what we would otherwise been able to do in a day, what would take weeks, could now take minutes. But most importantly, we are able to ensure that the mistakes are not very severe because, you're able to have finer and more granular control in terms of the code that it outputs and being able to correct that. So what that does for you, while the person who is generating software by themselves can really be able to generate to a certain extent today, but your ability to create software allows you to kind of 10x what you were doing before. So that's more value to our customers. Yeah. But ultimately, it's not about the technology, it's about the problems. We are focused on the problems. Whatever sufficiently addresses the problems, that is what we will leverage.
There is a saying in AI or in the AI world, that software eats people's job and AI eats software. And then you've got doomsayers that are out there saying that AI is going to take up software engineers' job. What's your take on that?
Well, if it takes software engineers' jobs, at least it's still a job, right? Yeah. So we'll see what we can do with that. So I don't really focus too much on jobs taking over by something else. I focus on the problems, right? Because the software is to solve a problem. So the focus is not on this building the software itself. The focus is what problem are we trying to solve and knowing what to do to solve that problem, right? So I don't really pay a lot of attention on the doomsaying in the sense that we know inevitably software engineering is already disrupted like never before. So it's just a question of being part of that change and leveraging it as much as possible for everything that we want to do. So it is just the way the world works. The world gets disrupted, you move, right? Yeah, it is what it is.
Paradigm shift.
Yeah.
You get no time.
Yeah.
Let's go a little bit about, Hassan beyond business. But Hassan, as an individual, you had a motorbike.
Yeah, I love motorbikes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're a pilot.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
That is very exciting. I see you
Let's talk
fly
about
all
that.
over the country, taking people in and out. What was your journey like becoming a pilot, and how exciting is it?
Yeah, very exciting. I mean, I've always wanted to be a pilot when I was a kid, right? Because when I was a kid, I don't even know what a software engineer is. So to me, everything I was doing with tech and so on and electronics, I'm just playing. I don't remember sitting down and saying, oh, when I grew up, I want to do this. Like I was just playing with my toys, right? So I wanted to be a pilot. But when I was in high school, I thought, I'm not smart enough to be a pilot. So maybe this is not something I should do. But I've always wanted to be a pilot.
How is flight simulator?
Oh, flight simulator, yeah. I remember before I started my first lesson, I didn't say it to the instructor, but in my head, I'm like, I'm going to crush this thing. Because I've been flying flight simulator for years. Bro, it's not the same. I mean, the procedure is it's similar, almost the same. I mean, of course, when you're sitting in your room on a joystick and when you're in a plane 5,000 feet, it's not the same thing, right? But the feel is really not the same. In fact, what will surprise you, the simulator is harder. But yeah, so what did I do? So I started researching about flying. How do you learn to fly? I'm like, okay, it's not a big deal. I can do this, I guess. So again, I always thought that for me to learn to fly, I have to, focus on the company and have stuff going on at some point, and maybe when I'm like whatever age, maybe I can go and get a pilot's license. Yeah, so one day I saw a friend of mine post, Juka, post that she went to Sally on an autogyro. I'm like, this is super cool, man. I want to do this too. I said, oh, by the way, you can actually learn it. So I called them. I told him he sent me the number of the guy. I called him and he explained to me, oh, this is an autogyro. It's not exactly an airplane, but if you want to learn to fly, he told me a place. There's a flight school in Dakar, a flying club. It's been there for close to 100 years.
Whoa.
Yeah.
100 years?
Yeah, close to 100 years. Most people didn't know about it then. So I reached out to them. It was quite an interesting. That's also another journey, of just trying to make sure I check box that the person that I was talking to doesn't speak French, doesn't speak English. I don't speak French. So it was quite difficult, Yeah, eventually I got registered in the school. I had to do a medical exam. That's also another episode, like how to figure out all the tests, where they are, what I need to do, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, I started taking flight lessons and I got a pilot's license. So today I have a Senegalese pilot's license and a US pilot's license.
Oh.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, flying is not really a big deal, huh? And this is one of the things I want to fix. I want flying to be the most normal thing ever. So flying is really not an intellectual exercise. No, it's not like nobody says, oh, you're so smart, you can ride a bike. Right. So you see that part of your brain, that's what you use.
Oh, okay.
It's muscle memory. Now there's a catch. Now the theory part, that's a lot. It's not complex, but it's a lot. You have to learn about, general aircraft knowledge. You have to learn about the principles of flight. You have to learn about how the engine works and why does it work. You have to learn about communication. Like, how do you speak to air traffic control? You have to learn about navigation. You have to learn about meteorology, like weather and stuff. So it's a lot, but it's not difficult. It's just something you need to learn and understand and do a test for, and you have to have more than 70% to pass that test.
That's a big lesson out there for us, the young people, because again, when you talk in terms of career, people think you have to choose just one thing and focus on that for the rest of your life. You've debunked that. That you can actually, it's more like do what you need to do so that you can have what it takes to do what you want to do. So you do not just limit yourself to starting a company. It's successful, yes, but what other things can I explore beyond that? That is a very profound lesson out there, especially for us, the young people. Life has a lot to offer, so we need to explore as much as we can. We shouldn't limit ourselves, like put ourselves in a box. So that's a great lesson out there. You were a Mandela Washington Fellow.
Yes, that is correct. Yes, I was a Mandela Washington Fellow in 2018. One of the most impactful experiences of my life. Did the institute part at Clark Atlanta University and also worked at a Silicon Valley startup. That was super cool. And the company that I worked for at the time did work for Facebook and Google and that kind of thing. And yeah, it was pretty cool. But, going back to the pilot part, I think that, I remember why I actually went ahead with flying. I met somebody during the fellowship, and it turns out that he was a pilot. We went to dinner at a family, and on the way home, and he just casually said, something that he was a pilot. I was like, whoa, I've never met a pilot.
Pilot.
This is so cool.
Yeah.
Man, I was fanboying around this guy all over the place. I said, I always wanted to be a pilot. I'm so honored to meet a pilot. La, la, la. And he's like, hey, yes, hey, anybody can be a pilot. He says that I've seen people with a lot of money who have become pilots, but I've also seen people with no money that have become pilots. And this is a very important concept. I'm pretty sure there are many people watching this who want to be pilots, but they probably don't even know how to become a pilot. And that's a Google search away, and it's free. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you want to do
it.
something,
yeah,
but you have not even, and this is understandable. I'm not calling anybody out. I mean, even for me, like imagine you want to do something. What's that? We're done?
No.
We gotta go pray though. Yeah. So you want to do something, you at least Google it. How do you become a pilot? What are the steps? That's important, right? Today you can ask ChatGPT, right?
Oh, yeah.
How do I become a pilot? It will tell you if you want to become a pilot, you need 40 hours of flight time with this amount as pilot in command, this amount as dual time. You need to do cross-country solo. You need to go to a flight school. You need to do a medical exam. You need to do blah, blah, blah. You know those steps. You know what I did? Wrote all of those steps down and created an Excel sheet of everything I need, even before I had any money to learn to fly. Wow. In fact, before I had any money to learn to fly, I started buying the equipment. Most of them I couldn't use because I bought the cheapest on earth. But at least, it was like, okay, I am making progress. I want to see, when I think of, this is the destination, right? But today, I'm thinking of what is the first step I can take. That is all that matters. Forget about everything else. It's just like, what is the first step I can take today? That is all that matters. I check box that. I get a dopamine hit. Next one.
That's the theory behind good luck. Preparation plus opportunity, that's good luck.
Okay. If you can set your mind to anything and then you want to grow yourself, you take the right channels and you find a way to learn, you would eventually become whatever you want to be.
Sure.
And, commitment, yeah? And passion. But also, what's your one most memorable flight experience?
Oh, that was actually recent. Can I give you two?
Yes, you can give it to him.
So for most pilots, their most memorable experience is the solo. The first day you flew a plane by yourself. Wow. For some strange reason, it was not my most memorable experience. My most memorable experience. So landing in Banjul, flying is highly regulated. So landing in Banjul was a bit tricky. So I got a lot of support from the civil aviation. They gave me the clearances and so on. And it took a while to get that checkbox. Shout out to the GCAA and the DG and his team, So they helped with all of that, the clearance and so on. So my happiest moment of flying, it was not me flying, is when I saw my friends on a plane and I heard the engine of the plane to pick me up and I would be flying out of my own country for the first time. That was.
Oh, that's when those lot of pilots came and you were flying out of Gambia?
No, I was a student. So I had another student with my instructor fly the plane down. So I was supposed to do the leg back to Dakar.
Okay.
So me flying the plane and taking off from the runway on Gambian soil was very memorable.
Oh, that's beautiful.
The other one was recent. I was so tired. I had the plane here and I had to return the plane to the car and I was like, yeah, whatever, man. I have to do this anyway. So I climbed really high, like 6,500 feet. I was alone in the plane. Normally, I hate flying alone, right? It's so boring. Flying actually is very boring. It's supposed to be, because it's supposed to be, by boring, I mean the activity. You're not like doing things.
Oh,
you're relaxed, just looking at instruments and, you know what I mean? Okay. So I did not like flying alone. So, but that day, the visibility was excellent. And I was climbing so high, the temperature was so good, and I was looking down, and I can't believe I could actually do this. So I was like,
it's a dream come true.
Yeah, that was actually a very memorable flight.
That's good.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, mashallah. Yeah.
Your story is so fascinating and inspiring at the same time. It's proof to young people out there that, you know what, you put your mind to it, you can make it happen. A lot of young people look up to you, especially people that are looking out to build something in tech. Everybody's looking up to Hassan. I don't know whether you know that, but we look up to you. And then you sharing your story, it's proof to us that once we set our minds to it with the right, guidance, we can actually get there. And then we can drive the Gambia to be a digital, mini Silicon Valley of its own. We've seen transformations across African countries. We can build those transformations here, or we can bring them here. And then you've laid the blueprint for us. And starting from scratch.
Well, that is what is inspiring. Yeah. So yeah. I mean, like, what happens? It's 7 p.m. Right? I am 100% certain my team is at the office and they're grinding. So I am the one that people know, but the true inspiration, the people that inspire me, is my colleagues. At the office, my team. Really, I really mean this. That is really what make the company what it is, and this is the part that people don't see. I mean, I would struggle to yank any of them and bring them here. They would not do it. I can promise you. Alpha knows. Yeah, but really, people, I'm the one they see. And I do understand that, alhamdulillah, I run the company, I hired the teams and I get them together, lead the team pretty much. But I will say that really, I don't own all the credit. We have an inspirational team that every day they make me, that's actually one of my motivation. Like, these people deserve to make it. And that's why I can't let them down. You know what I mean? Okay. So there's no stopping because these people have given their all. So that's it. So I'm saying that to say, do not look at me as, whatever you want to do, you're going to need to work with the right people that you love working with, people that have the same motivation, have the same vision, and the team knows that this is no longer about us or them.
Yeah.
When we get this right the way we want it, we are certain it will inspire a whole generation. And it will change everything, inshallah. We are aware of this. We know that this is not about us. I remember in 2018, I got a job opportunity at Google. One of the reasons why I didn't take it is because then I had 2 of the team members. I have been telling them, selling the dream to them. I would have let them down if I just took a job in Google, and so that kind of thing. So yeah, so that's that. Well, let's take a break, and Julie, and if we must come back,
we can just wrap up.
Yeah, it's just a few minutes left.
Okay.
Yeah. One of the things that I really find exciting is that your office don't have a work hours, like specific work hours.
Okay, it's hybrid.
No, so we don't care when you come to work. You can come to work at 12 p.m. We don't care if you don't come at all, but we want you to get the job done.
The work done.
Because you see, there are so many companies, because they are not organized enough to measure. No, this doesn't have to be a tech company.
Yeah.
Because they are not organized enough to measure your productivity, they console themselves with the fact that you're in the office at a particular time. Now, to be fair, there are certain jobs that time is so important. You have to be there early because the customers need you. That's not the nature of our profession. And also, if the teams know that we have a meeting, they will come on a particular time. But sometimes you're just not in the mood to work, bro. We are not working with muscles. We are thinking. Sometimes you just wake up this morning and you're like, man, I'm just so tired today. I don't want to go to work. And then you sleep for 2 hours, 3 hours. Of course, you send a message to say you're going to be late. Sleep for 3 hours more and just show up in the office when you want to.
Oh, I love that, man.
So because we want people to be creative and come find the shortest path to the problem. Well, okay, maybe that doesn't sound good because shortest path is not always the best path to the problem, but the most optimal path to the problem, and be in the best. So you can, that's why, so there's no time really. You just leave whatever you want, come whenever you want, and you don't have to be in the office. Just chill. Yeah.
You want to ask more?
No.
Huh?
Just have some final questions, just few seconds questions that you can answer.
All right. He's talked about his team. He's talked about Waychit. He's talked about his career journey. Let's just say, what is the one thing? I think I remember this from how will I say?
Your look is making me nervous. I don't know what he's gonna ask.
Oman Move's session.
Yeah.
What is the one thing that people cannot Google up on Hassan?
They cannot Google.
They cannot Google and find that information on Hassan that you haven't shared, and it will be something that someone can learn from.
What boy?
Wait, what?
That's more like a puzzle.
I'm thinking. One thing, in what perspective, man?
Well, it can be anything, but just something that someone can learn from you that, it has.
They
it can-
otherwise
yeah.
wouldn't find anywhere.
Yeah, you can find anywhere.
I don't know. Sometimes you just speak stuff and you're just talking about something, and the lessons are derived by people, depending on how they consume the information. So, I wouldn't pick something to be something that is useful for somebody. But I guess what I wouldn't know, man. I mean, I do know. Okay, when I want to do something, I don't start with what I don't have. I start with what I have. Okay, you want to be a pilot. Ah, boy, being a pilot is expensive. I can't do that. That's what you don't have. But guess what you have now? Number one, you can go and Google how to become a pilot. Number two, you can reach out to a flight school. Number three, you can take some theoretical courses online. Bro, this is so much of the steps for very little amount of resources. That kind of thing, that kind of mindset.
Right.
And yeah, so some of these things, alhamdulillah, I'm very grateful. So yeah, so that's one thing. That's one way I think, right? So when I want to do something, I just focus on what I want to. And the other thing I have is whenever I work with somebody, I have so much joy from trying to figure out what can I do for this person, as opposed to what can I get from that person. And I have built a lot of relationships as a result of that. I was not even aware of it. But if I like somebody, I have so much joy from figuring out what can I do for this person, So if I don't like somebody, I don't talk to them too much.
In a phrase or in a sentence, how have your journey been like? Describe.
Yeah, the journey is it cannot be described in one word. Yeah, gratitude, inspiration, exciting, thrill. Yeah.
What's that one book that you've read that really, really, really transformed your life?
A book, huh? I mean, when I was younger, I read a lot of fiction. So in my adult life, I read mostly non-fiction.
Okay.
So sadly, the memorable books are fiction books. But I think it's mostly, it may not even be like a whole book. It's just bits and pieces of things that I have learned from people. Bits and pieces of, information that I've learned from people, especially observing people do stuff, right? But I think one book, it's somewhat,
I remember borrowing a book from you. I never returned it because
Bring
it
it
was
back.
so good. No.
I can't believe I forgot the title of the book. Old age is creeping in, huh?
Yeah. I think, well,
And I'm sure right after this, I'll remember it like that. Yeah, a book was given to me by my supervisor in Silicon Valley. It's like, okay, I don't remember.
okay, I wanna let me bring this thing up. Let's just go back to the current digital trends, and particularly when it becomes to your parent, and then electronic devices are highly accessible to kids. And I've seen most of the time, tech gadgets or tablets have been used, to keep children calm or to keep them quiet. As a tech expert, knowing a lot of these things, and how do you do it?
Well, yeah, this is quite yeah, it's a problem, man. I guess the simplest way to put it, giving TikTok to your child is like giving them crack cocaine. Yeah, this is not what I say. This is what researchers said, People have written research papers about this, psychologists. Because it's the same parts of the brain it actuates. The dopamine that you get when you sniff cocaine, or you get a dopamine hit. And when that instant gratification, it's a dopamine hit that you get and rewires your brain and how you think. And that's not how the world works. You work, then get gratification. But not like instant gratification all over the place. So it's very worrisome, huh? So, and some researchers say if you have kids that are under 5, you should not give them those things. So my kids don't have tablets, and I have carefully selected cartoons at specific times that I watch with them together. So it's actually kind of worrisome. And nobody escapes this, even adults. You'd see an adult no longer has time for anything, just on his phone, just 24/7, right? I've seen that. So I try to avoid social media as much as possible, and nobody's an exception, right?
Absolutely.
They will catch you. So I'm terrified of TikTok. Never been on it. I mean, you can use it for good purpose, definitely, that's for sure. But there's not everything else has its pros and cons. It's one thing for an adult to just spend their time to do whatever they want to do, but to take a 3-year-old and give them a tablet, regardless of the content, it's very problematic. And I think that what parents should do is you do your own research about it. Do your own research. Is this okay? Like, what are the harmful effects? You will find it. But parenting is hard, right? I don't also want to oversimplify the situation. Sometimes kids drive you nuts. If anything you can do to just keep them in one place just for 30 minutes. So I totally get it, right? But it's a problem. It's a problem. So you have to have a control. And also, there's another problem. If they don't use it at all, like zero, that's also a problem.
They are missing out.
That's also a problem. So it's like a controlled exposure and carefully selecting what is more appropriate for the kids. And the ones under 2, forget it. Don't let them use those things.
Okay.
Let their brain develop. Let them touch the outside world. Let them go and play with toys.
Let them play puzzles.
Yeah. Or whatever.
Skill.
Football,
Yeah.
Go in the sand and play, man. That kind of thing.
I'm not a foyer and sisu based on.
Yeah, I used to make cars out of soof, actually. Come to think of
Okay.
it.
Last message for our viewers.
Wait, let me ask this thing first before we just do that. This thing, this is a tech meet around Gambia. People would assume if you're software developers, you know how to fix computers, you know how to do this. How do you navigate around that? Being specialized in one domain, or they would just assume once you're a tech expert,
everything.
You solve every problem.
My one is photos. People think I'm supposed to be able to take good photos. I'm a disaster, bro. I always forget that I needed to take photos, even when it's important, which is sad. But so I totally get it. I mean, for me, over the years, I've been just playing around with everything, right? Before I started coding, I was trying to fix computers and those kinds of things. So therefore, I'm able to help in some way, or at least know somebody who can help you. But I don't. Somebody else fixes my computers if they were to break, So yeah, but I guess that's not really a big problem. It just comes down to somebody reaches out and they need help. Just help them, or find somebody who can. And normally I tell them to go to Alpha.
Anyway, yeah. So
because Alpha is a very good problem solver.
All right. We coming close to wrapping this up. Ganso, if you have any few things, or you have a question or something that you would want Hassan to say before he closes?
Just want to say your story is so inspiring. It's proof that there's a lot we can do in this country with the limited resources. But then again, we have access to something that past generations didn't have. There's access to knowledge and information from our fingertip. And then you've proven that with just that, you can do incredible things. And then, like I said, you've laid the blueprint. Assutech has laid the blueprint for tech in the Gambia. And then it's easier for the younger generation to just come and build on top of that. No longer horizontal growth, we are looking at vertical growth here. So thank you so much for sharing your journey.
Last word?
Yes, sir.
Last word to anybody that's watching? Anything that you want to inspire?
Us as a society, we should start thinking about everybody else and not just us. And that is a big problem. And I think it's a survival mentality that me, myself, and I and my family, we have to start thinking long term, because that's a win for everybody. Right? Okay. And we should start that by stopping littering. you know what I mean? Look, it's like that sounds like a simple problem, but it just shows how people are thinking, because that person who litters in the roads or in the streets, they're not going to do that on their bed or in their own house.
Absolutely.
No. So this country, look at trash all over the place. You see, if people stop doing it, they'll start thinking differently, because it's like that street, you see, you start to think of it just the way you think of your house and your room. You start to think of the street. You start to think of the street as something that belongs to us, not somebody else, but everybody else. And slowly we'll start to think about everything we do.
Yep.
You think that, how does this affect my neighbor? Like in all our major religions, Islam, Christianity, and so on, being kind to your neighbor is a big deal. And you have to understand, if you go and litter, or you steal public funds, or you block projects because you wanted a kickback, that kind of thing, you have to understand that you are robbing a whole generation. So, and this, I don't also want to oversimplify this problem, because again, it's a survival mentality, right? And the other thing is, just because you did something wrong once doesn't mean you have to do it again. That's a plot of the devil. You should constantly strive to do the right thing. And even if you don't, in your heart, you should have a desire to do the right thing, even if the right thing is the hard thing.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Thank you so much for watching. This is Tech Talk on the Daily Dose. If you enjoyed this, please, do share with your friends. Do share your opinions.
Subscribe, like, and comment.
And stay tuned.